Good afternoon. Welcome to the second online workshop on the topic of Korean language that K-influencers find difficult. I see many of you joining from Nigeria, Egypt, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Venezuela, Colombia, Philippines, and Pakistan. That's a lot of people joining from all over the world, and thank you again for that. And nice to see you again since our last orientation. For those of you who haven't met me yet, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Chloe Park, your instructor for today. And let me translate myself into Korean since it's a Korean language learning lesson today. 안녕하십니까? 제 이름은 박세원입니다. 오늘 강의를 맡게 되었습니다. Then let's move on to today's orientation. And before that, let us review the activities we've done in August. So the monthly mission for August was vacation spots or resorts in Korea that I want to visit. I don't know whether you have submitted this mission, and if you have any impressions or if you have any comments you would like to share in comment, then it will appreciate it. I can share this with other people too. And I guess it's time for you to submit the optional mission for August, and it's still going on until September 1st, so you still have a chance to submit your optional mission to get more points. So the topic for optional mission in August is, what if I was the main character in a piece of Korean literature? So this is an interesting topic. I think you should know about Korean folk tales or stories in order to be able to say hand in anything in this mission. So these were the missions you've done throughout August. And it's always interesting to see videos that are created by you according to the topic given for each month. So I'm looking forward to see more videos going forward as well. And we are also giving rewards for those of you who have actively participated in the missions. So stay tuned and keep working on your missions. And another news is that we've had our first rebuilding program in the month of August. And that was based on the activities you've done from June through July. So for those of you who have participated in the program very actively throughout this month, we've upgraded them from general members to specially trained members. And vice versa, if you haven't participated in activities in June and July, we've changed your status back to general members. So just take note of that. And also for you who have been upgraded to special members, we've notified you via email individually. So check your email inbox and check whether there's anything in your spam box as well. And I'm sure you're participating very busy taking your checklist as K-influencers so far. And I am friends with many of you on social media, so I can see you submitting the missions. And one of the missions is watching the VODs for education. And so far, from June to early August, there were 10 videos uploaded for video education with True Park. And I guess you have already watched all of them. I will just read out the topics that were covered in 10 videos. It's mostly about the useful tips you can have while creating content on YouTube. So for example, how to minimize infringing copyrights and how translate your content language to Korean using AI program, smartphone apps that can edit very well, and also what you need to know about editing videos and various shooting techniques and shooting tips for 6 types of content genres, and summary of hardware and software that can be needed for video production. And for the efficiency, what you should do are some of the topics that are covered. I think it's very much useful skills and what can be practical in producing any content on YouTube. So I hope you have watched everything, and that was what's done for the August about educational video. And also for this month, we have already uploaded 3 videos in cultural VOD, that's K-culture spot with Kongnuni. And the videos were Amsadong prehistoric site and Mongchon Tosong earthen forestation soul, and also Changdeokgung Palace and Sacred Garden. So based on what's already released, it was mainly about prehistoric and the ancient times of Korea. So moving forward, I think you can see, you can learn about more modern history of Korea. So please stay tuned and also keep watching these cultural VODs. And these VODs are uploaded at 5 p.m. every Thursday, Korea time. So please don't forget about the upload schedule as well. And now moving on to our main topic, that is learning Korean, that felt most difficult by foreigners. And we've took a pre-survey on what's most difficult for you guys. And we took a survey on word order, pronunciation, verb ending forms, connectors, honorifics, colloquial language, and which are the most difficult for you guys. And surprisingly, at least for me, pronunciation was number one in terms of what you answered as most difficult thing in learning Korean. And it was followed by verb ending forms and the connectors by the same number, and also followed by word order. So we are going to conduct our lecture today following this order. And so the first part of our Korean lesson today will be pronunciation. This was one of the top most difficult part in learning Korean. So starting with compound consonants, I think it's very difficult to even classify when you listen to these sounds, not alone when you pronounce it. So I will go from the plain sounds on the left side. So under plain sounds, you can see 기역, 디귿, 비읍, 시옷, and 지읒. So it's easy to read consonants if you attach vowel. So if I add vowel a, then it will be 가, 다, 바, 사, 자. So that is the plain sound. That can be the basic. And then I think many of you find aspirated sounds very difficult. So how it works is that you have air should be popped out from your mouth when you pronounce aspirated sounds like 기역, 디귿, 피읍, 치읓. So if I attach vowel a at the consonants, it will be like 가, 타, 프, 치, 가, 타, 파, 차. And the easiest way, if you are pronouncing, to check whether you're pronouncing these aspirated sounds well, is just have your tissue or a little cloth in front of your mouth and see whether it moves when you speak. So when the tissue moves when you speak these aspirated sounds, that's the correct way you pronounce it. And next is about tense sounds, and that's 쌍기역, 쌍디귿, 쌍비읍, 쌍시옷, 쌍지읒. So if I pronounce these consonants with a, it will be 까, 따, 빠, 사, 짜. So it's as strong as aspirated sounds, but the difference is that for aspirated sounds, your air should be coming out from your mouth. But for tense sounds, you use air coming out from your throat, but it will be blocked in your throat. But you need strong energy to pronounce these tense sounds. So also, what differentiates the aspirated sounds and tense sounds from plain sounds is that those two, aspirated sounds and tense sounds, have higher pitch. So that's one tip. You can distinguish these sounds. Yeah, and this to give you more tips about these tense sounds, 쌍 means double in Korean. So 쌍, 쌍자음, tense sounds called in Korean. So 쌍자음 means letters in doubled letters. And that was about the compound consonants. Do you have any questions so far? Yeah, 치읓 looks like a man. Yeah, many people say like he looks like a man too with a hat. Okay, then so far so good. And let's move on to vowel part. So to explain you about the basic idea of how the King Sejong came up with this idea of Hangul was that this dot means sky, and U means earth, and E means human. And it started with this idea to develop other vowels as well. And dot in modern Korean is used as a line going upward, not like dot in here. So these basic vowel letters was upgraded to the first generated letters like O, A, U, O. So I will just go one by one. So it feels a little bit easier for you to understand. But I will explain the pronunciation, comparing it to English. Excuse my lack of Spanish or other language skills. I can only compare it to English, but let's go one by one. So A in Korean sounds like A in father. And U is most difficult vowels for foreigners. And because Korean is a stressed syllable, you separate words by syllables. So if you think of green as green, then it's U sound in gu. And also if you think of a tree and separate by two syllables like ri, then U is the first pronunciation in tu. So U is like gu or tu sound. And E is easy, so E in tree, E in tree. And O is similar to O sound in English, O in own. And also U is similar to U in flu or U in root. And O is similar to gum in O sound. I hope this comparison helped you a little bit in understanding these first generated letters. Yes, U is the hardest, I know. The rest is more difficult for me, but I'm learning. Aspirated sound and couple consonant sound. Thank you for tips. Okay, and then the second generated letters, it's easy, I think, for most English speakers. Yo is like yogurt, yo in yogurt. And ya is ya in yard. And you is like I, you, and also you in youth. And I think that's it for second generated letters. Although there are more vowels, I don't know the Korean language level that you guys have, so I think I'll cover the basic parts in here. And if you still are confused with some pronunciations, then you can just leave a comment in the chat. One comment said, I want to make sentences and learn verbs and things, the vocabularies, and speak with native words. That's true. So I think the first step to learn a language, the easiest way to learn the words first, especially for foreigners, if you look at foreign borrowed words like copy, cup, and you can familiarize yourself with Korean language easier. And let's move on to double final consonant. So I think if you learned Hangul already, I think you're familiar with final consonant. That's 받침, and it's what bows foreigners very well. It's a very unique concept in Korean language. Yeah, and then there are 11 double consonant letters, and there are 11. They're called diphthongs, and I think you should memorize how it's pronounced, though, because it's pronounced different than how it looks. For example, if you see the first letter in examples, 닭, although the final consonant is the double, 리을 and 기역, it's only 기역 is pronounced, so it's not dark, but it's 닭. But it's all the rules, so you have to memorize how it's pronounced. So if 리을 and 기역 is used as the final consonant, then it's pronounced as 기역. So 닭, it's pronounced as 닭. And the next letter in the examples, 끈, although it has ni은 and hiët at the end, it's also pronounced as ni은 only. So it's pronounced as 끈. And for 일, it's also pronounced as 일, not 이흐. So for example, 잃다 is to lose. So 일 is pronounced as il in here. And the last word in example, stop, Although it has lieu and piep at the end, it's only pronounced as dup. It only uses piep sound. So the tricky part about this double final consonant is just you have to memorize how it's pronounced. It just rules. So that's it for this double final consonant. And let me check some comments from you. Yeah, is the one I struggle with the most. So like I think if you can also speak English, is the sound when of the vowels that are not stressed in a word. For example, umbrella, and then stresses at the first syllable and the bro sound This sound is similar to in my opinion. So it's very, you don't have to force yourself to have certain mouth shape. You just be relaxed and then and it's similar to how we pronounce I hope it made sense. I know Korean, but I can't use it in videos because I'm afraid that I will make mistakes while speaking. But like language is about practice, so you can't be afraid of making mistakes. Even if you speak like a baby, all the native Korean speakers will know what it means, and it will only make you grow better if you start to practice. And aspirated sounds are available in my languages. Which language do you speak, Tahira Rizvi? I think also tense sounds are available in Spanish language. I hear like b, s, g, strong sounds in Spanish too. And why are some letters stronger than other? It's actually the rules that are set. It's like an agreement, so there's no way, just you have to practice, mimic it, and memorize it until it comes out naturally. And how about if it is followed by vowels? One piece in Korea. There are many foreign words used differently in Korean language, like one piece is stressed. Like high tension is, we are very excited. So there are some different words used. I really love Konglish words, are so easy to learn. Yeah, I think it's a good step. If you learn Konglish first, then it's an easier way for you to familiarize with Korean language. You speak Korean, but writing is bad. I typed mistake in my caption. Again, you have to see other YouTubers, how they make subtitles in their YouTube videos, and text your friends, Korean friends. And then you will just know that it has improved a lot better if you practice every day. Yes, I think so too, Virginia Casto. Spanish sounds are similar to Korean, make it easier for Spanish speakers, for sure. I only use basic Korean phrase because I'm afraid. No one judges you when you have a mistake, when you make a mistake when you're speaking a foreign language. So I think you can be more courageous. Do you recommend any particular book to phrase? I would love to learn Korean grammar. For any recommended books or links, I think I will ask my friends who actually is majoring in Korean language teaching, and I will share the information later on. And so we were done with the pronunciation part, and I would like to move on to verb ending forms. And if you look at page 13, there are three, there's honorifics in Korean and non-honorifics. And in the first line, if you look at it is, I am, you are, is in Korean, it's 입니다 or 이에요 or 예요. So 입니다 is a most formal language, and 이에요 is also honorifics but informal than 입니다. So if I say I am 세원, then I say 나는 세원입니다. And it becomes the most formal language because I'm using 입니다. And if I say 나는 세원이에요, and it's less formal than 나는 세원입니다. But anyways, 입니다, 이에요 both means is, am, are. And also, if you raise the end of the sentence a little bit, that makes a question sentence. So if you say 너는 학생이에요, which means are you a student, then you can say 너는 학생이에요, but raising the end of the sentence makes a question. And the next verb and is 있다, and 있다 means to have or to exist. So if I say 나는 사과가 있다, that means I have an apple. 아니면 or 나는 친구가 있다, that means I have a friend. So that's 있다. And the next one is 없다. It means does not have or do not exist. So for example, if I say 그는 친구가 없다, and that means he doesn't have a friend. So yes, 있다, 없다, 입니다, 이에요, 이에요 are the most basic verb endings in Korean. Let me check some comments. I see many of it. Yeah, be confident. Thank you for affirming that we can speak the language despite issues in pronunciation. I think Koreans rather see it very cute when foreigners make mistakes and their pronunciation is not perfect, like babies. We don't judge you guys, so I think you can be very courageous. 입니다, yes, 입니다 goes at the end of the sentence because they are all the verb endings. So if you attach 입니다, 있다, 없다 to the word stem, for example, if you use verb 가다, which means to go, then 갑니다 is how you use it. Yes, I saw the Lucille's cat as well. Thank you. She wants to be there too. As a foreigner, is it safe for me to always use formal? I recommend you to do so. And I recommend you to informal language among your friends. And it's always safer to be polite. I went to Korea and Korean people were very kind, especially elders, when I tried speaking Korean to them. Yes, that's one example. So Korean people are very glad when foreigners speak Korean, so it's only a good thing if you practice. How about talking to our same age friends in Korea? But as a foreigner, we should always be... So how Koreans do that is that when we meet together, it's a very unique Korean culture that we ask ages to each other. And then if I'm older than someone, then I say, oh, you don't have to use honorifics. Then the younger one doesn't speak honorifics. And usually when we are the same age, we start to use informal language without honorifics. But I think speaking in honorifics, starting with it, is much safer than not using honorifics. And the next comment is it true that the natives no longer use he or she at the beginning of the sentence? Yes, because I don't know whether you know about the high context culture. So we omit many things in sentences. So we don't usually say subject in a sentence. So even if I say 사과 먹었어, then people would know that I ate an apple. So yeah, it's very true that native Korean speakers omit the subject in sentence. Yes, talking to people in their language is very touching. Yes. Yes. Okay, then I'll move on to the next page. It's also basic Korean verb endings, and now it's about past, present, future, the tense, and negative. So if you want to say past in Korean language, then you can say 왔어요 or 왔어요. So if I use the verb 가다, which means to go, then if I want to speak past tense, then I say 갔어요. And the present, 뭐뭐 아요, 뭐뭐 어요, 뭐뭐입니다, 습니다. And here again, like 뭐뭐 합니다, 습니다 is the most, the strictest honorifics. And 뭐뭐 아요, 뭐뭐 어요 is still an honorifics, but on the informal level. So here, if I use the verb 가다 again, which means to go, and if I speak in present tense, I say 가요, 갑니다. And that's the present tense. And for the future tense, you use 겠어요, 뭐뭐 할 거예요. And then if I use 가다, the verb to go again, then 가겠어요, 갈 거예요 is how I speak future tense. And for negative, you attach 뭐뭐 하지 않아요, 뭐뭐 하지 않았어요, 뭐뭐 하지 않을 거예요. So if I use 가다 again as a verb to go, and if I want to speak past, I mean the present, but in negative, I should say 가지 않아요. And if it's gonna be negative but past, 가지 않았어요. And if it's about negative but future, then 가지 않을 거예요. And that's the tense and negative. And I will just see some comments in the chat box. In Spanish, you would omit the subject as well. Yes, in high context cultures, we omit the part of the sentence and people will notice what it is. You prefer the short form in daily speaking. That's true. It's not like, while we miss these particles, for example, I will cover this topic later on, but like 세원이는, it means a subject. 세원 is a subject. But I sometimes just omit 는 or 이, 가, and Korean people would perfectly understand what the person is saying. And when do you use 겠어요? And 뭐뭐 할 거예요? 가겠어요, 갈 거예요. 가겠어요, it sounds more like 갈 거예요, 가겠어요. Determinative, I don't know how to express this. 가겠어요, 갈 거예요. I'll just take a note and just Google it myself too. And the similarity between Korean and Urdu is we have similar sound and even some words are pronounced similarly. Is Urdu language an Indian language family? I'm not so knowledgeable. For instance, mom and father are pronounced almost the same. Yes, so 엄마 and 아빠, I heard in, where was it? Sri Lanka, they use 엄마 and 아빠 as well. Mama and papa are, I think, some common words that are used in any languages. Maybe you can use 겠어요 as a question form. 가겠어요? You can also use 겠어요 as a question form if you raise at the end. 가겠어요? 가시겠어요? It's totally fine. And then if you don't have any questions about this verb endings and tense, then I'll move on to the word order. So I will not cover every word order in various sentences, but only the basics. So in the next page. Before we think about word order, there are the particles connecting the words to make it as a sentence. So I'll just go through the most basic Korean particles here. So if you look from the top, the topic particle is 은 or 는. So they have the same role. They exactly have the same role, but they are used differently according to which syllable, whether the preceding word, noun, at the end is in consonant or ends with vowel. So if the last syllable of the preceding noun ends in consonant, then you use 은. For example, 가을은. 가을 is autumn in English, and 가을 has 리을 as the 받침, and that's why you use 은. So that's how you memorize when to use 은 and 는. And if the last syllable of the preceding noun ends in vowel, like 우유, which means milk, then you use 는. So you say 우유는. So by topic particles, we mean it's like a subject. So 우리 선생님은 한국인이에요. And that means 우리 선생님 is a topic. Our teacher or my teacher is 은 한국인이에요, Korean. So that's a topic particle. And the next one is subject particles. It's similar to topic particles, but instead it's used as 이 or 가. So you can say 가방이 무거워요. That means my bag is heavy. The reason why I used e instead of ga in here is because the last syllable of the preceding noun ended in consonant, which is 이응. So I attached e to 가방. And for 가, for example, I can say 버스가 오고 있어요. That means bus is coming. And because the bus 스 didn't have 받침 in there, that's why I used 가 instead of e. I guess it's very hard to understand without me writing in front of you, but I hope you're following up. And the next one is object particles, 을, 를. So you attach this at the end of the object. For example, 나는 책을 읽었어요. It means I read a book. So a book is an object. So that's why I said 나는 책을 읽었어요. And then out of 을 and 를, I used 을 because it ended with a consonant in the 받침. So 나는 책을 읽었어요. And then if I say 따뜻한 차를 마실까요? That means would you want to drink some hot tea? And here tea was the object, so that's why I attached 를 at 차. So 차를 here in 차 was object. And on the right side, you can see 에 or 에서. It can either mean it, in, at, to, or from. So if I say 학교에, it means it can mean to school or in school. And 학교에서, it can either mean at school or from school. So you have to judge the meaning depending on the context. But 에 or 에서 means in, at, to, or from. And the next one is 부터, and it means from. And I will just talk about the next one here again. 까지 means till, to. So if you want to say from Seoul to Busan, then you can say 서울부터 부산까지. So again, these are particles that are attached at the end of a noun. So it's not from Seoul, and you want to say 부터 서울, but you would rather say 서울부터. And then if you want to say till Busan or to Busan, then you would say 부산까지. So there was 에에서 부터까지. And if you look at the bottom left, there's 에게 or 한테, or 와, 과랑, 나, 이나. These particles are used for people. So for example, the first one, 에게 or 한테서, that means to or from someone. So if I say 선생님에게 or 선생님한테서, that means from teacher. And the next one is 와, 과랑. They mean the same. They just are used differently depending on. So 와, 과 are the same, and 랑 is more informal than 와, 과. So 와, 과 is more like literature language, and 랑 is more a verbal language. And for example, 사과와 오렌지, that means 사과 and orange. And excuse me. 랑, it's the same. 사과랑 오렌지. That's same as 사과와 오렌지. But I don't think you can use 랑 in official papers. You use 와 or 가. So 랑 is more like friendly or informal. And the next one is 뭐뭐나 뭐뭐이나. So it means either or. So if I say 사과나 배, that means either 사과 or 배, or either apple or a pear. And if you look at the bottom right, you can see 로, 의, 도, excuse me. And it's used for directions or method. I'm really sorry. So like to, 로 or 의로 is to or towards. So if I say 부산으로, that means to Busan. And the next one, 의, is for possessive. So someone's, it means someone's. So if I say 유나의 가방, that means Yuna's bag. I'm really sorry, I'm like recovering from COVID from last month. I'm coughing a lot, I'm very sorry. Yes, I'll just drink water. Thank you. And the next one is to, which means also or to. So if I say 세원이가, that only means that 세원 is a subject. But if I say 세원이도, that means I also want to or something. So 나도 먹을래 means I want to eat too. Now I'll check some comments here. Thank you for all the encouraging words. I think the coronavirus takes a long time to recover. So similar in meaning, 뭐뭐 하겠어요, 뭐뭐 할 거예요. Yeah, it means will or anything verb in the form of future tense. However, 뭐뭐 할 거예요 is more of something you will really going to, yeah, it's more like you have an intention when you say 뭐뭐 할 거예요. Thank you for the explanation. This part covered most of the things I found confusing. 감사합니다. Thank you. Apple and orange, yes. Is na, ina, either or must be always followed by verbs? No, it can be connected by nouns like 사과나 오렌지. If you don't have any more questions about the particles, then I'll go move on to next one, sentence structure. So today I'm going to cover the most basic sentence structure here. So the most basic one is subject, object, and verb. It's the basic form that we follow for constructing a Korean sentence. And I'm again sorry that I'm always comparing Korean into English because that's the only Western language that I speak. So the easiest way to remember the difference with English is that verb and object positions are switched. So if you say a baby is eating an apple, then 아기 먹다 사과 is the order. But if you want to speak in Korean in the right sentence structure, then you would say baby an apple is eating. So it will be like 아기가, 가 is the subject particle, 사과를, 를 is the object particle, 아기가 사과를 먹어요. 먹어요 is the eat, to eat, the verb. So this is the order of the sentence structure in most Korean language. Yes. And then we will move on to connectors. So connectors are the things that connects verbs with the other verb or nouns and nouns. So there are many types of connectors, and I will first talk about comparison connectors. So if you see 고, verb, one thing you should remember in here is that you always use the stem of the verb only to connect the verbs. So for example, in the first example, if you want to combine 먹다 and 가다, and you would say 먹고 가다. So you only use the word stem in 먹다, 먹, and combined with 고, 먹고, and then you said 가다, 먹고 가다. So it means eat and go. And the next one, verb and 뭐뭐지만. It means verb, but, or however. So here you only use the word stem again. So if I use 먹다, to eat, and attach 지만 at the end, then I would say 먹지만, not 먹다지만. So if I say 먹지만, I eat, but, for example, I don't like it. 먹지만 맛이 없어요. I eat, but it's not tasty. So 지만 is however or but. And if you combine a noun and 보다, it means it's a comparison. So then noun. For example, if I say 사과보다, that means than 사과. So if I say 사과보다 오렌지가 좋아요, then it means I like orange better than 사과. So 보다 is a comparison connector. And next we have cause and result. First one, verb plus 뭐뭐 아서, 뭐뭐 어서. It means and as a sequence or so as a reason. So if I use verb 먹다 and then use 뭐뭐 아서, then then I should say 먹어서. I also used only the verb stem in here, 먹, and then I say 먹어서. That means because I ate, so it's a reason, and 먹어서 없앴다. I ate and just removed it. And the next connector is 뭐뭐기 때문에. It literally means because. So if I use 먹다 again, 먹기 때문에. And if I use noun, then 남자이기 때문에. Or 여자, female, 여자기 때문에. Because I'm a woman, because I'm a man. And the next one is verb plus 뭐뭐니까. And this is like 먹으니까 좋다. That means it's good because I ate. Or it's good because I eat. 물 마시니까 좋다. 마시다 verb stem is 마시. So 마시니까 means because I drank. So that's the cause and result connectors. And we also have connectors for to indicate time. So on the next page we can see 다음 페이지로. So here, 뭐뭐 할 때, if you use noun or verb and 뭐뭐 할 때, it means at the time of or when. So if I use a noun, 학생, which is a student, and if I say 학생일 때, that means when I was a student. And if I use verb here, 먹다 again, and I say 먹을 때, it means when I'm eating. And then the next one is 동안, time plus 동안. It means during or for the duration of something. So 1시간 means an hour. And then if I say 1시간 동안, it means during an hour, for the duration of an hour. And the next one is verb plus 뭐뭐으면서. I think it was, so I will use the verb 먹다 again. And if I say 먹으면서, that means while eating. So verb plus 뭐뭐 하면서 is while doing something. And verb plus 뭐뭐기 전에, it means before doing something. So if I say 먹다 as a verb here, and if I say 먹기 전에, it means before eating. And then if I use verb 가다, which means to go, and 가기 전에 means before going. And the next one is 뭐뭐 한 후에. It means after doing. So if I say 먹다 as a verb, it will be 먹은 후에. And then if I use 가다 as a verb, then it will be 간 후에. It means after eating or after going. Yeah, example. 배고프니까 같이 먹어요. So here, 뭐뭐니까 is the because I'm hungry. 같이 먹어요. Yes. 여자 때문에. It means a little bit different. 여자 때문에, 여자이기 때문에. So 여자 때문에 is due to woman, and 여자이기 때문에 is because I'm a woman. I don't know how to explain it in a better way, but they mean a little different thing. So when you want to use because of something, you would rather use 뭐뭐기 때문에. 니까. Go is what I'm currently learning my Korean language class. I'm glad you explained it clearly. Do we write it like 먹고 가다? In terms of when you write 먹 and go, they are attached together. No space in between. 먹고 space and 가다. Yes. Yes. Yeah, so the next page, I think I already covered this one. But yes, when you want to use conjunctive ending, the ending must be attached to the word stem of the predicate of the preceding sentence to connect the two sentences. So here the example sentence was 날씨는 덥다 and 습하다. The weather is hot and humid. And then you remove 덥다 from remove 다 from 덥다. So 덥 is the word stem, and if you add 고 and 날씨는 덥고 습하다, that's how you combine the two sentences. So I will just give you some more examples, and if you want to chat in the chat box, that will be very funny. Let's say, how do you combine 자다 and 가다, which means to sleep and to go? So the word stem in 자다 will be 자, and then you attach 고, 자고, 가다. So you can say 친구, my friend, please come stay and go. You can say 자고 가. Yes. And then so and this noun and noun go noun was, I think you understood. 자고 가다. Yes, 자고 가다 is correct. And let's practice with 뭐뭐지만, which is however. So if I say 인도 음식은 맛있다, 그렇지만 맵다. How do I combine two sentences? 맛있다, but 맵다. So here you have to use the but connector in Korean, that means 뭐뭐지만. So 맛있지만, yes, 맛있지만 맵다. So I use only 맛있 part of the 맛있다, that's the word stem, and 맵다. So when I connected the two using 뭐뭐지만, it was 맛있지만 맵다. So yes, Ardina gave a good example. 친구 집에 가고 있지만 친구가 자고 있어요. That used a lot of connector words. That's great. That's a great example. Although I'm going to my friend's house, but my friend is sleeping. And that was really a good example. Amazing. Yes, and I will move on to colloquial Korean words. It was, I think, the third most difficult Korean that foreigners found difficult. And the first topic in colloquial was Korean homonyms, so words with different meanings. So if you see 사과, it can either mean apple or an apology. So 사과를 먹다 means I eat an apple, but if I say 사과를 하다, that means I give an apology. And the next one is 차. 차 can either mean tea or car. So if I say 차를 마시다, that means I drink tea. But 차를 타다 means I rode a car. I ride a car. And the next one, 배, it can mean many things. pear, boat, or belly. So 배가 아파요 means I have a stomachache. And then 배를 먹어요 means I eat a pear. And 배를 타요, then I mean I ride a boat. And the next one is 눈. 눈 can either mean eye or snow. So if I say 눈이 아파요, that wouldn't mean snow is hurting. I would say my eye hurts. And if I say 눈이 와요, it doesn't mean eye is coming, so it will be snow is coming. And 팔, it can either mean number 8 or arm. So if I say 팔이 아파요, that means my arm hurts. And 풀 can either mean grass or glue. So 풀이 푸르다, 풀이 파랗다, that means grass is green. But if I say 풀과 가위, then that would mean glue and scissors. So these are some of the examples of homonyms in Korean. So actually there's a way they are pronounced differently in formal Korean language setting. So some words are pronounced longer and shorter, and even native Korean speakers don't know how to do that, although we learn in Korean. So we just think about the context that the word is used to know the meaning of these homonyms. Also, like someone just answered in the survey that he was confused with 당신, because 당신 can mean like honey, but also mean you. And 자기 too. 자기 sometimes can mean myself, but honey. So it must be confusing, but you always have to know the context of it. And the next one is one of the characteristics in Korea. We like to use 우리 instead of 나. So it might sound very weird if we say 우리 엄마 in English, like our mom. So, but Koreans like to use 우리 엄마 instead of my mom. And same for my sister or my brother, 우리 동생. 내 동생, you can say 내 동생. 우리 동생, many people say that too. And my program or the program, we say 우리 program. Yeah, I don't know whether it's a Greek-oriented culture in Korea, but just Korean people like to use 우리 for everything. So even if you feel it's very weird when you hear these words, I think it's just the habit of Korean people. I'll just read the comments now. Depends on the context. Yeah, I learned different ways of pronouncing 눈, for example, for snow and I in Korean language in the school, but I just forgot how to pronounce it, so I just think about the context. It depends on context, depends on meaning of the sentence, that's true. The pronunciation is really different in sentences. Yes, if it's linked with other particles like 을, then it might sound different because of 받침. 받침 is really difficult to learn, I think. Yes. What is the most advisable thing to have a good pronunciation? I think one of the major difference in Korean language than other languages is that it's a stress-based language. So, for example, in English, you speak like a flow, like a big flow. And then Korean is like all the syllables are emphasized. So if you try to speak emphasizing each syllable at first, then I think it will make your pronunciation better. And of course, you can always like shadow other native Korean speakers speak, and then you can get the rhythm of it. Like you don't even have to follow the exact words. Like you can just listen to the rhythm, like da 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 da. Then you can apply that rhythm to the words that you speak. It's like formal English as we is used. That's true. And is it okay to say it even though we are not relatives? Charbel, are you talking about the use of 우리? I think it's fine. We also say 우리나라. But it's true that it's usually used in a friendly context. Yes, my Korean friends say to me, 우리 친구. Yes, that's right. Speaking Korean feels like singing a song. Yes, some people say it's very rhythmic. And 우리 is either us or we. Yes, 우리 is like we, us. That's true. To pronounce well in Korean, pronounce the last syllables. I think that's a great tip because when English speakers mimic Korean people speaking English, like washroom in Konglish is like washirum. So like if you emphasize the last syllable, it sounds a little bit like Korean. What other examples? Like classroom, we say classroom. Like if you emphasize the last word, it sounds a bit like Korean. Yeah. Thank you very much for the tip. Okay, and we'll move on to onomatopoeia and mimetic word. I think these are the very, very difficult ones as a foreigner to learn and as a foreigner to see what it feels like. And these onomatopoeia and mimetic word, you can refer to child's book or like bedtime stories. But it's a good step to be interested in a language because I did that to learn Japanese too. It sounds very cute. So if you look at onomatopoeia, it means a word that imitates the sound made by a person, animal, object, or etc. So example, the first one is 철썩 철썩. And it's a sound made by the sea waves when they are coming in and coming out. So 철썩 철썩 is the sea wave sound. And 으르렁 is like a roar in tiger or lions, 으르렁. I think there's a song by a famous K-pop idol too, 으르렁. And yaong yaong is the meow meow sound by a cat, yaong yaong. I think it sounds very cute too. And mimetic word, a word that imitates the shape or movement of a person, animal, object, etc. So the first example is 보슬보슬. I think we use this to describe the rainy day, but it's not showering, but like rains a little bit. Then we say 비가 보슬보슬 내린다. It's like a droplets of rain. And the next example, 퐁당퐁당, is the sounds you hear in a stream when like frog jumps in and out. Then you can hear the water 퐁당퐁당 sound, or 퐁당퐁당 shape because it's a mimetic word. And 방울방울, 방울 is like a bubble, so you can imagine if you blow a bubble as a kid, then you can see the bubbles 방울방울. And that's 방울방울. And these are the words that will not be very practical if you learn it, but it will make you more interested in the language because I think it really shows the beauty of a language. Yes, 야옹 야옹 is a cat sound. For the heartbeat, 두근두근. 두근두근 is the word to describe heartbeat. I think you can read child books to learn about these onomatopoeia and mimetic words. I think we are almost like running out of the time here, but I will go through the comments in the survey that you would like to know in this session. So I will read out some of the questions. So some of the questions was, when should I use honorifics? In what occasion should I use honorifics? So as I told you, when you meet someone for the first time, it's mostly safe to use honorifics in the most formal form. And then if you guys agree on what language form you want to use. For example, the upper one usually says it's okay to use non-honorifics, then you start to say non-honorifics. But in business settings, in formal settings, it is safe to use honorifics. And then if there was a question about many of Chinese-based words. So if you don't necessarily have to learn Chinese characters, but if you learn some of them, then it will make your process of learning Korean words faster. And I am reading a comment here. How to address someone whose name or profession position you don't know. So I think the most common one will be 님, like N-I-M, 님. So if you attach 세원, my name, and 님, 세원님, that will be okay. Because like 모모씨, it's not officially not something that is only used by seniors to juniors, but it feels like she is more used by seniors to junior. So I think 님 will be a neutral one, 님. I know Chinese characters usage in numbers. Yes. Oh, it's like Mr. or Mrs. So you don't attach 님 to sir. 세원님. Oh, it's the opposite actually. So you use, if my name is 박세원, then you say 세원님 or 박세원님, not 박님. So you attach on the on your actual name, not the family name before 님. I've confusion in using 저기요, 실례합니다. Sometimes in K-dramas, they 실례합니다. So here, 실례합니다 is like a most formal form, like excuse me, literally means excuse me. And 저기요 is like hey, a little bit friendly, informal, like 이모 or 아줌마, like it's informal. So 실례합니다 can be the most polite way, I think. 저기요 is like more 아저씨 is like calling 이모 저기요. So I think as a foreigner, I think it will be nice if you can use 실례합니다. And thank you. Also, there was a question about the pronunciation of compound vowels like 의. Just write down in here, 의. And if you pronounce these compound vowels, then you think you are pronouncing both vowels at the same time. So 의 is ư and 이, and it's like 의. So I think if you try to speak them at the same time or like parallel, and then you will get it someday. 의 is it pickle. 의 is to express possession. So 세원이의 사과. Like 의 in like here. 세원's apple. 의. This is all thanks to you because you took a survey on what you want to know, and I was really worried if I am covering too much in a short period of time, but yeah, I think you guys are following up really well. I guess how fluent you are in Korean, because you're interested. I guess you're watching many K-dramas and Korean YouTubers, and that will make you very familiar with Korean language. Yeah, I see some of my foreigner friends who are more up to date than K-drama than Koreans here. Thank you. So I think I covered some questions in the survey. And last but not least, I am going to talk about the activities that will be done in September. So the mission for September, I don't know whether I can spoil this in here, but because you're joining here, I'll just say the monthly mission for September, and that is introducing awesome Koreans around you. So if you think of any historic figures or any Korean friends or any Korean family members around you, you can maybe have an interview with them. That can be a great video. And the detailed notification will be made on September 2nd. So stay tuned on the page where it's going to be announced. And about that cultural VODs, the videos will be uploaded at 5 p.m. every Thursday in Korea time. And we have 7 more videos prepared for you. So just keep watching the YouTube channel that will be showing the videos. And also you will enjoy the videos with our adorable character, Kungnuni. And yes, we are almost at the end of the time. And I hope the second workshop was as useful and as meaningful as the first workshop. And Chuseok is coming in 2 weeks. Chuseok is 한가위 in Korean, or it can be described as Thanksgiving in Western culture. And it's the time where we meet together as a family. Or if you don't have a family in Korea, or if you're living abroad, if you see any Koreans, try to speak Korean and talk about what you learned today, and also learn about what you do in Korean holiday, like eating songpyeon or looking at the moon, and it will be a great experience, and you can even make a video out of that. So hope you enjoy the Thanksgiving coming in, and yes, thank you for all the encouraging messages. And ask any questions if you have questions about Korean on the KOSIS webpage. Thank you very much.